Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. Today we'll be going through all of the books I have read so far this year. It's not a ton. We have read 15 books so far this year. It is currently April, so this is from the beginning of January through now. These are all the books I have read. Some of them are physical and then some were on my Kindle, so I will go over all of those. I'm going to try to keep them in order from the ones I've read first to now, and then I will kind of go into a little bit of detail about what they are about, what I rated them, and if they're in reading vlogs, I'll try to briefly touch on them so that it's not just repetitive information. But yeah, I feel like the reading so far this year has been really good. I found a lot of books that I've really loved and enjoyed. New series I've started that I'm really excited to continue to read. I also read some books that are a little bit different from me. So I don't know, very successful so far. I'm very excited to see what the rest of the year holds. We're getting into spring and summer, which is my favorite time to read. So I'm super excited about that. Let me know if you guys would like a spring summer TBR recommendations video, because I've been thinking about filming one of those because I just have so many books I'm excited to read this summer and spring, and so many books that I've read that have just been perfect for the season. So let me know if you want that. But today we will be going through all the books I have read so far and kind of what I've rated them. So I have my Fable app opened. I've been really loving Fable for tracking books lately. I don't know, it's just so fun. It's so pretty. It's so pretty to look at. Like I have mine pink right now and it's just so cute. I love it. So I'm going to be using this to kind of go over what I rated everything, because I have no idea. Some of these books are just not memorable to me, which I will go over, but so I don't remember all of the ratings. I also want to go over if I agree with those ratings still, because a lot of the times I will go and rate a book as soon as I'm done, and my feelings kind of always change the more I sit and think about those books. So we will be going over that as well. And I'm gonna stop yapping and we'll get into the books. So the first book I read this year was Zodiac Academy: The Reckoning. This is the third book in the Zodiac Academy series. I cannot tell you enough about this series so far. I am not yet done with the series. I am not even halfway, I don't think. This series has seriously been changing my life. I read the first book last year, like the beginning of last year, and kind of hated it, if I'm not gonna lie. I really hated it. I didn't enjoy it at all. But then I've seen so many more people talking about the series, so I decided to give it another shot. So I reread the first one and still hated it. I still hated it, but I pushed through and I continued on with the series. And the second one was one of my absolute favorite reads of last year. Not the favorite, but one of my favorite reads from last year. It was so good, and it only got better from there. The third one was so fun. I don't really want to get too much into what these ones are about, just because it is in the middle of a series and I don't want to give any spoilers. But if you don't know what the series is about, basically about a school, a magical school called Zodiac Academy, and it takes place in this world of Solaria, and a lot of it has to do with the zodiac signs, the stars. It's very beautiful. We follow our two main characters, Tori and Darcy. They are twins. They live in the human world, and a person comes and takes them to Solaria, saying that they are the heirs to this whole land, really, and that they need to attend this school if they want to access their fortune. And they are very poor in the human world, so they really want to access their fortune. They don't care about anything else in this world, just that they want their fortune. Going into this world, there are new rulers or heirs. They have like this council that rules now, and all of their kids go to Zodiac Academy, and they're all the heirs, so they're next in line if the Vega sisters don't take over. And they are, let's just say, they do not want the sisters to take over the world or take over the kingdom, so they are really ruthless and mean, just to try to get them to drop out and leave. But they have the money in mind. They keep trying to tell them that they do not want anything to do with the throne. They just want their inheritance. But it just kind of goes back and forth from there. And there are some love triangles in here. There's a lot of fun little tropes in here, but I also just love the world. You have vampires, you have werewolves, you have magic, there's just so many things in here that are so fun. There's dragons. It's just, I don't even know where to begin. There is so much that happens in here, and I'm not even halfway done yet, and there's just so much of a story to be told. These books are definitely massive too, but I absolutely love them. I rated this 5 stars. I think I rated the second and the third and the fourth one 5 stars. I absolutely love these books, and I'm really excited to continue the series because I've heard it just gets better and better. And so yeah, if you're thinking about starting this, or if you maybe have read the first book and just were not impressed, keep going because it gets better. I promise you, it is so much fun. I absolutely eat these up. And they're all in Kindle Unlimited, which is a huge plus. I mostly read them on my Kindle because they're gigantic books. Okay, the next book I don't have physically because I listened to it on audiobook, but I'll put a picture up on the screen here. And that is Listen for the Lie by Amy Quintero. I listened to his audiobook because I got so many people recommending it because of the full cast that is doing the audiobook, and it did not disappoint. It was a really, really good book. Now that I think about it, I don't think it was all that memorable, but in the moment I remember having a really good time listening to it, and the audiobook is just absolutely phenomenal. The voice actors are incredible, and this one is basically about a woman who her best friend, I think, it's murdered, and everyone thinks that she did it, but there is no proof really to say that she did it, but everyone just believes that she did because she was there, she was covered in her friend's blood, and there's just all these other things that lead to her being the one who did it. She basically has not been able to live a normal life since that happened because everyone thinks she's done it, and she loses her job, she loses her boyfriend, she loses a lot of things. And this is like years later. There's this really famous podcaster who does like true crime podcasts, and he tries to uncover things from maybe unsolved crimes, and he wants to do a podcast on her and her situation in her town. So he goes to this town and he interviews everybody, and so you're kind of learning about the story through this podcast and through all the people in the town telling the story in the podcast. He is involved, and it's actually super, super interesting. I will say it was really hard for me to predict what was going to happen, or what happened. You have no idea what's going on. I just thought that was really, really fun. I rated this one 3.5 stars, and I'd probably stand by that because it wasn't like super crazy or anything like that, but the way it was told, the audiobook and everything, it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I got through it rather quickly. Besides that, I wouldn't say it was anything super crazy, but it was definitely a fun read. And if you're looking for a really fun audiobook, I would definitely recommend that one just because of the cast and it was just really entertaining to listen to. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that if you're looking for an audiobook. Next, I read Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney is one of my favorite thriller authors. Her Rock, Paper, Scissors book is absolutely one of my favorite reads ever. I just think that that one was so witty, and I've read a couple others by her and I absolutely love them, and so I was super, super excited when this one came out. I don't want to say that I was disappointed, but I just don't think it lived up to the rest of her books that she's written and kind of what she's known for. It was a very interesting story for sure, but the plot twist, and it just didn't get me. Like I didn't care by the end of the book, I would say. I think that's the best way to describe it, is just that I didn't care at the end. Basically, if I remember right, you're following a author. His name is Grady Green. He's an author. He isn't doing so well in the writing field just because I think it was about a year ago he had lost his wife. The weird thing is like she didn't die, but she like disappeared, but they think she's dead. Like the whole situation was really weird, but he basically lost his wife, not knowing what happened to her. She just kind of disappeared in the middle of their phone call actually, and no one's been able to solve the mystery. People think she's run away. They don't really know what's happened, and he's kind of for sure that she would never run away. Fast forward to a year later, his agent is basically trying to get him to write again and write a successful story again. So she recommends going to this little town where there is a house that one of her authors that manages has passed away, and he has this little house in this little town, and she recommends that he goes there because it's very secluded. It's a very small town. It's in the middle of like an island. You have to take a boat to get there, and she thinks it'd be good for him to just get away and write and see if he can come up with something a little bit better. And so he decides to go. He takes a ferry over there. The little island is very strange. Everyone there is it's very eerie. It's very weird. He is trying to write his book, but weird things just happen, and he's kind of trying to solve like this town's own little mystery. He's trying to figure out what happened to the author there before him. He's trying to kind of solve how everybody got there basically, because nobody is from this town. Everyone kind of ends up here. He's trying to uncover all of that, and then in the midst of that, he is pretty much positive that he sees his missing wife there. He doesn't know if he's just kind of losing it because he's been losing it, or anyway, he doesn't really know what's going on. It's very interesting to follow the story, but again, wasn't super, super impressed with how it all unraveled. So I gave this one a 3-star. I think that's fine. 2.5, 3-star, I would say, but I'll stand by my 3-star rating. But everything else she's written, I've absolutely loved. If you haven't read her before, I would definitely recommend Rock, Paper, Scissors. That book is, ooh, it's so good. Next book, again, I don't have this one with me. I read it on my Kindle, but that is The Crash by Freida McFadden. It was one of her new releases this year. Again, I absolutely love Freida McFadden. I love everything that she has written. It is just so fun. I feel like her plot twists always get me. They're always so out of pocket. Crash, this is basically about a woman. She got pregnant from a one-night stand, so she really doesn't have a partner with her, and her brother is the only one that she kind of relies on, and her brother kind of lives far away. And her brother convinces her that she should come to him so he can help her through giving birth and all of that stuff. And so she decides to drive, like, I think it's like 3-4 hours away to go be with him for the end of her pregnancy because she's just struggling being on her own. She ends up driving during this crazy blizzard snowstorm. On the way there, she crashes into a tree and she kind of is stuck in the snow in like this mountainy terrain area. And this man comes and rescues her, and she's absolutely terrified of this man, and he rescues her and brings her back to his home with his wife. You're in the wife's POV and you're in the girl's POV, and they end up keeping her in this hospital room in the basement, and she's trying to nurse her back to health, she says, so that she can go. The girl wants to just go, and the woman kind of just keeps her there and telling her all these things that are wrong with her. It's very, very eerie and weird that she's being kept here, but I believe she has like a broken ankle or something, so she cannot leave on her own, and she keeps begging them to take her to the hospital or take her somewhere or let her call her brother, and they just keep making excuses, and it just gets weirder and weirder, and so you don't really know what's going to happen. And the ending was really twisty. It definitely got me. Like, her endings always get me. I gave this one a 4-star, which I totally stand by that. I feel like I give all of her books either 4 or 5 stars because they are just my absolute favorite. They always get me. They're so fun to read. They're so fast-paced. I read them all in like a day or less. They're absolutely amazing. The next book I also don't have. I read on my Kindle. After I read The Crash, I kind of wanted to read another Freida McFadden book because they're so much fun. So I read The Locked Door, and this one's one of her older ones. I don't know if it's just because I've read so many of her new ones that this one just wasn't as good to me. It was still very interesting, and I still read it really fast, and it had an interesting ending, but I only rated this one 3 stars. I honestly don't remember a lot of what this one was about. I'm pretty sure it's about a doctor who, when she was younger, her father was a serial killer, and he was like kind of hiding what he was doing in their basement in this locked door, and her mother told her never to go down there, but she was very, very curious what was going on. And anyway, when she was younger, her father gets caught for being a serial killer. He gets arrested, he gets put in jail, and she grows up, and she's kind of just always been like known as the serial killer daughter, so she changes her name and becomes a doctor. And the reason why she becomes a doctor is really creepy. She kind of has these same impulses that her father did, but she kind of wants to use them for good. Her dad was doing it because he was just a creep and he was a freak, and you know, so very interesting there. And nowadays she starts to see that this same pattern, or like his signature way that he would kill people, is showing up again. It's like happening again, but her father is in prison, so she is very concerned basically who's doing this. But the police are also looking at her because she is the daughter, and they kind of are like thinking that maybe it runs in the family. So it's very interesting. You're kind of following that whole story of her she's trying to kind of solve it because she doesn't want the blame on her, but the police are trying to figure out it's her, or trying to prove that it's her. It's very interesting. And then the next book I read, I have this in the wrong order. The next book I read was the 4th Zodiac Academy book, and when I tell you, this one absolutely destroyed me. I actually haven't picked up the next book yet in the series because the ending of this one was so insane. When I tell you I was bawling at the end of this book, I couldn't even breathe. I was crying so much because so much happens. It's like you're rooting for so many things throughout this series, so many things. All of a sudden they're all happening. All the things you're rooting for are happening, but then they get stomped on and crushed and destroyed, so that basically everything you hoped that would happen is literally never going to happen, and all the things that you care about, or the people that you care about, you're never going to see them again. It's just, it's emotional. It's emotional, and I don't know how this is only the 4th book in like a 12-book series, because that, like, the ending of this book is insane, and I haven't picked up the next one just because I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's ruined it for me. I don't think it's ruined it for me, but I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, so I don't want to give too much details. But you really feel like you can't continue after this book, but you do want to continue because you're curious. So let's just say that. Amazing 5-star read. I honestly, at the end of this book, I was so angry I didn't even want to rate it because I was was so angry with how it ended, it did leave off with me wanting more, and the whole story was so good. I read this one the fastest out of all of them, and it is the biggest one out of all of them. It's crazy how much goes on to keep you interested in these books. Read the series, it's amazing. I really want to get to the 5th one this month, and I'm probably going to read it next, hopefully, because I'm ready. I feel like I've kind of moved on. I don't feel so sad anymore. I'm ready to find out what happens. Let's just keep continuing the series. That's how I feel. Okay, next was A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I picked this up because last year I read The 7-Year Slip, which was my favorite book I read all year. I absolutely love The 7-Year Slip. I think the writing was just so beautiful. I know I've said a lot of things about that book on this channel, so I'm sure you know, but I absolutely love that story. And so I really wanted to read this one because I really thought that the premise of this book was very interesting. It is about a woman who she loves to read. She reads this one specific author. I forget the author's name, but she loves her romance books. Her and her friends have a book club where they purely kind of just read this author's works, and they're just the cutest little like small town romance books. Think about like a Hallmark movie. They're just so cutesy, and she has read them so many times. Anyway, they have this annual book club trip that they go to a cabin every year to discuss the books, and she looks forward to it every time because it's kind of all she has going on in her life is she looks forward to this trip with her friends. But this year is different because all of her friends have other things going on. One of them is getting engaged, going on these crazy trips to like Scotland, I think it is, and none of the friends can make it except for her, and she's kind of heartbroken by this, but she also doesn't want to just not go, so she decides she's gonna go by herself. On her way to the cabin, her car breaks down in this little town, and as she's kind of staying there to get her car fixed, she realizes that all these people here are very familiar to her, the names, the characteristics, the way they are, and she realizes that she just stepped into the town from those books that she loves so much. She ends up staying with the only guy that she doesn't know from these books, this other man. It's very interesting. The story was super cute. I don't think it was as good as the 7-Year Slip. I still thought it was really fun. The writing, again, it's so good. Her writing is so beautiful. Her books are always so much more than just a silly little romance. They always have so much more about life, or like she can really connect to the way that people feel and maybe feel like they're the only ones that feel that way, but then she kind of writes in a way like she knows your feelings and that maybe this is more common than you think, and these feelings you have other people have, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it. She just is really able to make you feel like you're not alone in a lot of your thoughts, and that's why I really love her writing. I still rated this 4.5 stars. It wasn't as good to me as a 7-Year Slip. I don't think I connected to this specific story as much. I think a lot of people could, and a lot of people will. The next book I read, this was a very different book for me. Let me just say, I got this off of a TikTok recommendation. I don't remember who it was, but she explained it. She basically said just like a summer in New York in the 80s where there's like partying and there's drama, and it just sounded like so fun, so I picked it up, and that is A Gorgeous Excitement by Cynthia Weiner. And this book was so different than anything I've ever read before, but it was a lot of fun. It is more of like a literary fiction mystery type book. You start off learning that there was a murder in Central Park. There was a murder in Central Park in New York City. Everyone is pointing to this guy, and you kind of ends there, and you go back to the beginning of the summer. And the main girl, I'm trying to remember her name, Nina. The main girl's name is Nina. She just graduated high school. She's about to go off to college at the end of the summer, and she really just wants to enjoy her summer, her last summer in New York. She wants to just experience things. She doesn't have a whole lot of friends. She meets this one particular friend who is very bubbly and outgoing and doesn't care what people think about her. This friend introduces her to cocaine, and kind of from there they just go on this kind of wild ride. It's very mundane, but it's very interesting, and it's crazy because you're kind of living it through her drugged up crazy mind, and she has this one specific guy that she's trying to attract the attention of because she just wants to be with him. It's all very interesting. I feel like you kind of have to experience it because you can't really talk about it, and I think that's why you just have to understand that, you know what, this is a book that takes place in New York during the summer in the 80s, and it's a lot of fun. It's a wild ride. I rated this one 4 stars because it was a really fun read. Next, I did a reread of Iron Flame in preparation for Onyx Storm coming out this year. because I read this when it first came out and I had the highest expectations, and I think we all did have the highest expectations because Fourth Wing was so much fun. Fourth Wing was great. I read it and I got so bored. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. I was so bored and I skimmed a lot of it. I was just trying to get through it, and I didn't have a good reading experience, and I didn't think I was gonna read the next one, but I love hopping on the hype train with everybody else, and everybody else was so excited about it, so I wanted to be excited about it. So I went ahead and reread Iron Flame this year. I did a lot of it on audiobook, and some of it I did read physically. I will say I enjoyed it better the second time because I went in with the lower expectations because I had already read it. I went in knowing that I wasn't going to love it, so I was able to kind of enjoy it a little bit more. I think the first time I read it, I would have rated it like a 2-star. But now I would say like a 3. I think a 3-star, and I still don't know if I want to read Onyx. I mean, I'm gonna read Onyx Storm. I'm gonna read it, but I still am going in with low expectations because of this one. Love the concept. I love dragons. I thought the first one was so fun with the school and everything, so I really want to love it. I just don't. Next book I read was A Killing Cold. This was a book of the month option, obviously. So, and I have heard of this author. I haven't read anything she's written besides this book. I picked this one up because I've heard of the author, and I remember that was a really popular book and I wanted to see what it was all about. I'll just say I wasn't super impressed with this book. I don't know. I found it kind of slow and boring. It's not a long book, but it was slow. This one is about a woman who, I think she goes home with her boyfriend for a little family vacation. They own like this big property in the mountains, and they have like a ton of cabins on it, and everyone kind of has like their own cabin. The main girl doesn't really remember anything from her childhood, and when she goes up to this cabin, she starts to remember things, and she finds a picture of her at the cabin when she was little with her boyfriend's dad, and it's all very weird. And so she's kind of trying to solve this mystery of why she recognizes this place, trying to remember things from her childhood that she hasn't ever been able to remember. And at the same time, the family is being really weird with her. Her boyfriend's being weird with her. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I have a reading vlog on this if you're interested to see more about it. Didn't love it. Okay, the next book I read was Rebel Witch. This was one of my most anticipated reads from this year because I absolutely loved Heartless Hunter. I thought it was so fun. I rated this one 3.5, and I really did enjoy this book. It was just like a lovely little hug, like a comforting little hug. But I feel like the stakes weren't as high in this book, which I love fantasy for the romance, but also for like the political and the high stakes, the like those kinds of things. I love politics. I love high stakes. I love like more like fighting. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I love when you're just like your heart's racing when you read it because there's so much going on. And I love the banter between these two characters. I absolutely love both Rune and Gideon. I just think they're both I just want to know them. I want to be friends with them. I just think they're both super amazing. But I just feel like there wasn't enough going on in this book to keep me interested. I mean, there was definitely stuff going on, but the first one I felt like there was more of a point to it, if that makes sense. But I still absolutely love this. I don't want to go into too much detail because it is the second book or in the series, but I rated this one 3.5. I would even say maybe 4 stars because I did really like it. It was just not as good as the first one to me. That's it. Next book I read, I did read Wild Eyes. I've had this sitting on my shelf for a while. I don't know why I never picked it up because I loved Wild Love. When I read Wild Eyes, I was so giddy. I was like, oh my gosh, I love Elsie Silver's writing. It's just so much fun. I really loved the story of these two. This one is following Wes, who is the sister of Rose from the first, or he's the brother of Rose from the first book. He is just, I just love him so much. He is so sweet, and he has 2 beautiful, gorgeous, adorable little kids, and they make the story so much fun. Their connection and their chemistry is so adorable. I love him. I think he's so adorable, and his kids are so cute, and basically their love is just adorable. I love the friendship between Skylar and Rose. This book was just really fun. It was a quick read. I really enjoyed it. Not much else to say. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I really love this one. I still think I like Wild Love better, but I did really enjoy this, and I'm super excited to read the next one. Next, I did pick up Heavenly Bodies. I saw everybody talking about this, and I had to understand what it's about because I just love a good new fantasy romance. Even if it's overhyped, I love it. I think they're so much fun. And this one was really intriguing to me. And I will say, when I started this book, I was like, there's so much going on. They really just kind of throw you in without explaining anything. And so you're a little bit confused in the beginning. And I didn't really love that. But if you keep reading, you start to understand a little bit more, or maybe I'm just dumb and I just didn't understand it. Sorry, I got interrupted. But basically what I was saying is this book was really confusing in the beginning, but the more you get into it, the better it gets, and you start to understand and you really start to fall in love with the character. You start off with the main girl. Her name is Alara. I had to remember that. Her name is Alara, and she has this prophecy that has been foretold of her that she was going to fall in love with a star and it was going to kill them both. In this world, the stars are like gods. They have each little like continent or section or kingdom has like a star that looks over them, and those are gods. They're like real beings, like you can like they come visit, talk to you. They all have different powers. Anyway, so she is said that she was going to fall in love with the star and is going to kill them both, and that star is Arya is the star. He is the one that has been foretold of this prophecy with her, and he is the king of all stars, and he cannot have that happen. So he ends up going to her kingdom and kills her family, and it tries to kill her, but he ends up not being able to kill her. And so you start off with her running away from this kingdom because of that, and she comes in contact with Lorenzo, and Lorenzo, he goes by Enzo. So basically she is the princess of like this darkness, nighttime like kingdom, and then he's the prince of like the sun, the light, if that makes sense. And she comes to his kingdom, or she gets captured and taken to his kingdom. His father is wanting to use her as a weapon to kill the King of Stars. He tells Enzo to train her so that she can become powerful and she can learn how to harness her magic and all these things so that they can use her as a weapon. So the whole time that he is training her for this, they obviously find a love connection. They are very much enemies to lovers. They have a lot of really good banter. I will say their romance happens very fast. If you don't like that, if you're more of a slow burn, which I typically am more of a slow burn lover, then it might not be the book for you, but it is very fast, but it is like a very giddy kind of love. Like I did kick my feet. I loved the romance in this book. I thought it was really cute. Yeah, you kind of follow them on this adventure of her becoming this weapon to kill the stars. It was very, very interesting, very different, honestly. The tropes and stuff have been done before, but the story was really unique, and I thought the ending was really unique. I really enjoyed it. So I gave this one 4 stars. I think that if the beginning was a little bit better, I could have even seen this as a 5-star read, but I just was so confused in the beginning. I'm so excited for the next one to come out. I can see this setting up for such a really fun series, and I could see this being that like all the other books in the series being 5-star reads. So I'm really excited to see what the next ones are about, especially the way that this one ended off. So definitely pick this up if you love just like a cheesy typical romantic book. It was a lot of fun. Next 2 books. I do have a reading vlog coming out on these books, so I'm not going to touch on them too much because I go into depth in my reading vlog that will be coming out after this video. The next book I read was That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. This is a YA thriller, which I have tried YA thrillers in the past and I have not been a fan. I think I've just read so many regular thrillers that the YA ones just aren't as twisty for me, or I like them to be a little bit more dark, if that makes sense. But this one was pretty dark for being a YA thriller. Like, it was a little bit intense, but this is basically following a girl who gets abducted by a man, and then you're also following through the POV of this boy in high school who his girlfriend has gone missing. You're trying to figure out what happened to his girlfriend and how she got abducted by this man. It's just like you go back and forth. I don't want to give too much away, especially because it's in my reading vlog, but I rated this 4 stars. It was really good for a YA thriller. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The ending was crazy. It had me in tears. Like, it's a very emotional book, so just to let you know, check trigger warnings or anything like that because it is rather intense. So look those up. It doesn't have any trigger warnings in the beginning, which I think is crazy because there are some darker themes in here. And then the very last book I just finished, actually, what was it, yesterday? The day before yesterday? I just finished this one, and that is A Dawn of Onyx. This one has been sitting on my shelf for so long. I feel like I just didn't pick it up because I heard about it a couple times and haven't really heard about it since, so I just haven't, it hasn't been on the forefront of my mind. But I read it for this reading vlog, you'll see, and I really enjoyed it. I do not understand why this doesn't have more hype or gets talked about more, because it has so many things that a lot of people really love in this book. Like, you have fae, you have dragons, you have enemies to lovers to enemies. Like, it's a whole lot of fun. But basically you're following this woman named Arwen. She lives in this little village, and she is a healer. Her mother's very sick. She has a sister, and then she has a brother who is been drafted for this war. Their kingdom is having this big war with this Onyx kingdom, and the Onyx has this king who is just ruthless and terrible. And so her brother's drafted into this war, but they haven't heard from him in like over a year. So she kind of just assumes that he's dead and she's trying to just move on. He comes home hurt and he tells them that he just came back, and on his way back he stole a bag of gold from the Onyx soldiers and they're coming after him, and so they need to pack up everything and go, and he wants to take them to a safer kingdom basically just to protect them. And they are shocked with him coming home and just everything, so they hurry and pack up and they leave. But in the midst of all the craziness, they forget her mother's medicine, which is very, very important because her mother's very ill. And so she decides that she's going to run back home, and they're going to go, and she's going to run back home and she's going to meet them. And she comes home to a house full of Onyx soldiers asking for her brother. And she basically pleads with them and tells them, you know, she's a healer, she's very good, she has these crazy powers, she can heal anything, and that she wants to go in place of her brother because she thinks she'll be useful and she wants her family to be safe. The guards end up saying okay, and they decide to take her back to the Onyx Kingdom and use her as a healer. So they get to the Onyx Kingdom. She's in prison basically, and she is forced to be this healer, and she meets this guy in the prison who is trying to escape. It's just a very weird, like a very weird thing going on with him. It's very good. The tension in this book is really good. If you're looking for a slow burn, this is where it's at, because I'm telling you, they did not even kiss until like right there. They didn't even kiss, and until right there, and oh, it was so good. And the ending is crazy. I will say I rated this one 4 stars, and only because the ending, you like get this big reveal, and then it kind of goes back, everything kind of goes back to normal, and you're like, what the heck? And then you get this big reveal again. I feel like if they would have just kept the big reveals, it would have been like crazy and intense, but because you got like this weird kind of almost like boring part in between, it kind of just didn't have as much of an impact for me. It was still very, very interesting. I did order the second one. It will be here today. I'm very excited to continue with the series. It's only a trilogy too, which I really like duologies and trilogies. I think they're like perfect lengths for series for these kinds of books, just because they don't drag on and you still get more of the characters, and it's a lot of fun. I'm really curious to see where the story is going to go from here. It's really good. I think we need to talk about this more because it was so much fun. And I rated this one, I think I don't know if I told you, but I rated this one 4 stars. That is all of the books I have read so far this year from January to April. I think it's been a really fun reading month or reading year so far. Let me know what you guys have been reading, and let me know if you've read any of these or if you have any recommendations based on my reading, because I'm always looking for fun new books. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to stay tuned for my other videos that are coming out soon. I think they'll be a lot of fun. And follow me on other socials if you want to see more. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.